Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got our first pre-recorded video and we're doing a trade tree video. This is an interesting trade tree that happened during the 2017 expansion draft. We'll go through the entirety of this trade tree coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Hockey channel. And before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. Thank you for all your support. We know to love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so you can also listen to this video. So we're doing one of our pre-recorded videos here today. And today we're going to do a trade tree. We've done a couple of these over the past little while. We did the Travis Hamonic trade tree, the Anthony Mantha one, the Tyler Toffoli one. Well, there was another interesting trade tree that caught my eye. And it was one that was originally as a part of the 2017 expansion draft. So this is probably more of a one-sided trade, but it's an interesting one that helped out both teams. Now, back in the 2017 expansion draft, we know there were a couple of teams who made some rather bad trades with the Golden Knights that really set the Golden Knights up for success. We know that the Panthers are one that always stands out as they moved Smith and Marchessault to Vegas. We know that Haula and Tuck going to Vegas was also another interesting one from Minnesota. We know that the Islanders giving up a first-round pick, the Jackets giving up a first-round pick, Anaheim giving up Theodore. Like, all those trades really did set back a lot of teams and push the Knights forward. But one trade that I don't think a lot of people think as of a huge trade that happened in the expansion draft, but is actually quite significant and was instrumental to the Golden Knights' success, is one that they made with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, the Lightning had protected a couple of players, but they left a couple of players off. I think Cedric Paquette was one of them. I think Yanni Gourde was another. There were a couple of other really good forwards at that current point in time that the Bolts had that they didn't really want to lose in the expansion draft at Vegas. So they made a trade for the Knights selecting Jason Garrison from the expansion draft. Tampa traded them three pieces. That was Nikita Gusev, whose signing rights were traded to Vegas, as well as a 2017 fourth round pick and 2018 second round pick. So it was an interesting trade, one that seemed to really work out for the Golden Knights. For the Bolts, it allowed them to keep guys like Paquette and Gourde and a couple of other guys, and that would eventually lead them to 3 cup finals and 2 cup wins. So, I mean, you can't really say it's a lose for the Bolts in order for them to keep some of their prominent forwards that they weren't able to protect. But for the Golden Knights, this actually turned out to be a very fantastic trade. So we'll look at the 2 picks first, and then we'll go over to the Gusev part of the trade tree. So first, the 2018 fourth round pick. They kept that pick. It was an interesting one. It was 115th overall. They used it to select bomb 6 forward Paul Cotter. Now, at the time, that was an interesting draft selection there for the Knights, but Cotter has actually turned out to be a really fantastic player. Cotter has only started getting into game action in the 21-22 season, but then after that, he started to become a really prominent player for the Knights. His first full season at the NHL level, put up 13 goals, 18 points, 55 games, and helped the Golden Knights to the Stanley Cup final and winning the Stanley Cup. So Cotter was an instrumental piece. Last year, put up 25 points in 76 games, and with the Knights sort of trying to rework their bottom 6 a little bit, try and get some more youth into that team, they wound up trading Cotter this past offseason, moved him as well as a 2025 third round pick to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for young goaltender Akira Schmid and young forward prospect Alex Holtz. Now, the Knights do still have both these players currently under contract. So Schmid's currently their third stringer, basically. He's their starter in the AHL system. So Schmid, I think, eventually could be an NHL backup. He has been a couple of years over in New Jersey. So given that fact, it makes some sense that Schmid will eventually be a backup again for Vegas. And when it comes to Holtz, he's not had an overly great start to his Vegas Golden Knights tenure. Only had, I think, 2 or 3 goals and like 5 or 6 points in over 30 games. But he's been a consistent top 9 forward with the Knights and looked all right. So as much as Cotter's actually gone to New Jersey and done quite good early on, they do get a couple of interesting pieces here in Holtz and Schmid, who I think eventually will help that team long term. But for right now, Holtz is a third line forward who's not producing overly well, and Schmid's in the AHL. So an interesting trade there, but the 2017 fourth round pick led to Cotter, which helped them win a Stanley Cup, and then Cotter led to them having both Schmid and Holtz. So interesting note there. Now, the 2017 second round pick, they did not keep. It was traded, I think, right after the expansion draft, just before the 2017 draft, and that draft pick was traded to Columbus Blue Jackets. The Jackets will eventually select Alex Texier with that draft pick, but the full trade was the Columbus Blue Jackets acquired the 2017 second round pick that Tampa traded to Vegas as part of the expansion draft trade, and in exchange, the Golden Knights acquired young bomb 6 forward Keegan Kolesar. Now, at the time, Kolesar had not been an overly fantastic NHLer. He'd been mostly playing in the AHL, but after arriving in Vegas, Kolesar has been fantastic. His first full NHL season was in the 2020-2021 season, and since then he's been a consistent NHL forward, basically playing consistent minutes in the bottom six. He has been able to get higher into the lineup on certain occasions. Had 18 points in 74 games 2 years ago when they won the Cup. He was an instrumental bottom six forward 2 years ago when they wound up winning the Cup. Last year also had 18 points in 79 games. This year already has 7 goals and 11 points in only 32 games, so he's on pace to have a new career high. He's already almost tying his career high in goals. So Kolesar is a very fantastic player. He recently just signed a 3-year extension, so this has been a really fantastic pickup there for a nice. And while he's not been a great top 6 forward, Texie hasn't been that much better than Kolesar has his entire career. So all in all, I think this is a really good piece of the trade for the Knights to get Kolesar in exchange for that 17th second-round pick. So that's a pretty good move there for the Knights. When it comes to Nikita Gusev, he had his signing rights traded by Tampa to Vegas. He was currently playing in the KHL. He did play for a couple more years in the KHL. Then, during the Knights year when they bowed out in the first round to San Jose, he signed a 1-year ELC. That was for the rest of that current season. He joined them during that playoff run, but never really got into any NHL action. So after that, he was an RFA. The Knights really didn't see a fit with Gusev going forward, so they traded him to New Jersey in exchange for 2 picks. And the 2 picks were a 2021 second-round pick and a 2020 third-round pick. So the 2020 third-round pick was actually an interesting pick up there for the Knights. As the third-round pick in that year in the 2020 draft was 68th overall, they didn't move it. As you know, the Knights are accustomed to moving draft picks. They didn't trade this one. They kept it, and they used it to select prospect Lucas Cormier. Now, Cormier is in the final year of a 3-year deal with $800,000 right now. Hasn't been a consistent NHL forward at this point in time. Last year, played in 62 AHL games, putting up 10 goals and 35 points in those 62 games. Looked all right. And that was 2 years ago. Last year, put up 4 goals and 20 points in 58 AHL games, and also had an assist in 2 NHL games. So Cormier looks really good. I think he's currently injured or something right now, or he's not getting into very much playing time, but Cormier does look like eventually is going to be a solid third pair of defensemen there for the Golden Knights. Now, the Knights do have a really stacked blue line, so it might be a couple of years before Cormier cracks the NHL roster, but Cormier looks like a very fantastic pickup there for the Knights for that third-round pick that they got for the Gusev deal. When it comes to the second-round pick, it wound up being 36 overall. They did not use that selection, however. They made a draft day deal. They traded the 36 overall pick, which was the pick that the Devils gave them as part of the Gusev deal, traded it to the Detroit Red Wings in exchange for the 38th overall pick and a 4th-round pick that wound up being later on to the season. This 38th overall pick they kept and used to select prospect Daniil Chayka, who had his contract terminated by Vegas, so he's no longer a member of the Golden Knights, was the 30th overall pick in the 2021 draft. It was a decent pickup there for the Knights at the time. He has been a really good AHLer, but I guess he just didn't see a fit long-term on that Vegas blue line, so him and the Golden Knights wound up mutually parting ways, and then he has his contract terminated. When it comes to the 4th-round pick that they acquired from the Detroit Red Wings, they used it to select forward prospect Jacob Demek. Demek was in the second year of a 3-year ELC with an AAV of $850,000. It's another good young prospect there for the Golden Knights. Demek is currently playing last year in the AHL, put up 7 goals and 16 points in 55 games after having a solid season in the WHL the year prior. So Demek is still a very young forward, probably won't make the jump to the NHL for another 2, maybe 3 years, but he does look like a very fantastic player who could eventually be a bottom 6 forward. So all in all, this has been a really good trade for the Golden Knights. It was an expansion draft trade, and it seems like they won it. For the Bulls, they were able to keep their forwards that they had, Paquette, Gourde, a couple of other guys, moved off of Garrison, who never really wound up amounting to anything. He spent, I think, 1 year in Vegas and then left as a free agent. So not losing guys like Gourde or Paquette or someone else on that forward group was really good and instrumental to the Tampa winning those Stanley Cups a couple of years down the road. But for Vegas, they acquired a lot of pieces from this deal. Pieces they still have from this deal are Akira Schmid, who could eventually be a solid backup for the Knights, are Alex Holtz, who's already a solid top 9 forward there for Vegas, is Keegan Kolesar, who's been a fantastic bottom 6 forward for Vegas, Lucas Cormier, who I think eventually could be a solid third pair defenseman, and Jacob Demek, who could be a solid top 9 forward eventually. So some of those players are still pretty young and still playing in the AHL, but there's a lot of really good talent there for Vegas that I think could eventually, or already is, going to be really big for that Vegas Golden Knights team. So all in all, some really good pieces that Vegas got from that trade in Tampa, and I think they have to win this one. Even though the Bulls did win a couple of cups, guys like Cotter and Kolesar were instrumental in their bottom 6 to help Vegas win their own Stanley Cup. So all in all, a pretty good trade for both sides as Vegas wound up making out pretty well here in an expansion trade with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So definitely, after you guys' thoughts on all of this down in the comment section below. What were your opinion on this sort of a deal? Do you think it was a really good move for Vegas? Do you think it was a really stupid move for Tampa? Or do you think Tampa actually made out pretty well here? They didn't give up too many big things, And on top of that, they wound up winning the Stanley Cup because of it. So definitely, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on who you think won this deal down in the comment section below. So on top for today, until the latest video, if you'd like to subscribe below, thank you all your support, and I really do love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below. So this can also today's video. I also have a blog, tournament news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. Leave links down in the description below. Don't forget to stay tuned for my other pre-recorded videos, and I can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.